On the Road, the original scroll. The legendary first draft, rougher, wilder, and racier than the 1957 edition. Jack Kerouac, Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. Okay? They said he had schizophrenia, but he was writing. Then they altered his stuff. Then here's the first draft, typed on a long, single-spaced paragraph on 8 sheets of tracing paper, which he taped together to form a scroll, represented the development point at which his vision, narrative voice came together, a sustained burst of creative energy. The scroll is the uncut version of Kerouac's masterpiece, rougher, wilder, more sexually explicit than the edited work that appeared in 1957. On the Road, the original scroll is Kerouac's signature achievement and one of the most significant, celebrated, provocative documents in American history. Novel that On the Road became inarguably the book that young people needed in 1957, but the sparse and unassuming scrolls in the living version for a time is a dazzling piece of writing. Cunnell's useful addition makes it clear that despite his later talk about the spiritual characterization, Kerouac did not create the published book as a single burst of inspiration. It was a deliberate and arduous labor of years. See, he was writing this book for people to read and write. They say he was paranoid, schizophrenic. Why? I don't know. Just to write about. They made him edit the script, right? And then they wrote about it and then they released the originals. Kerouac is the book's biggest voice, a matter much more apparent in the scroll, where the voice is allowed to wail and swoop and riff without the commas that hobble in the novel. The scroll just keeps its head down and runs, and is all the more authentically literary thereby. The scroll clarifies the book's connection to the past, to Mark Twain, and tramp narratives in Woody Guthrie and cowboy sagas. Underlines the features and shares with the nearest contemporaneous cultural relative, Robert Frank's great photographic road book, The Americans, Luc Sante, New York Times Book Review. Okay, so he wrote this book. They changed it. They said he was paranoid. So also by Jack Kerouac, they said he was paranoid, schizophrenic. Now I could read his book. Then they said they were attacking him at Viking, right? Then it was sexually explicit, but then I could read his book. They said I had schizophrenia, They were monitoring and releasing the original scripts afterwards, They really were attacking him at Viking, he said, right? But they said he's paranoid schizophrenic. They really were attacking people, right? So Jimmy Neese was supposed to be in the army, but I could read his book. And the doctors were killing people in the mental ward, calling them schizophrenics, right? So they're attacking people, messing up their lives, calling them schizophrenic. The fast this time. Jack Kerouac and writing of On the Road. Rewriting America, Kerouac's nation of underground monsters. Into the heart of things, Neil Cassidy in a search for authentic. The straight line will take you only to death, the scroll manuscript, and contemporary literary theory. Yeah, they acknowledge that he wrote a book. They say it was schizo, right? Sexually explicit, they edited it. Fastest time. Jack Kerouac and the writing of On the Road. Howard Cunnell. I've told all the road now, Jack Kerouac said May 22nd, 1951. Letter he sent from New York west across the land to his friend Neil Cassidy in San Francisco. Went fast because the road is fast. Kerouac told Cassidy that between April 2nd and April 22nd, he'd written a 1,025-word full-length novel. Story deals with you and me and the road. He had written the whole thing on a strip of paper 120 foot long. Just rolled it through a typewriter. In fact, no paragraphs. Rolled on the floor. It looks like a road. Like everything else about him, the story of how Jack Kerouac came to write On the Road became a legend. Certainly, when I read the book at 16, my friend Alan knew all about it. with her first now, her white t-shirt, low hip Levi's, and listening to George Shearing. This was sun-washed white and blue seaside town on the south coast of England 25 years ago. Kerouac was high on Benzedrine when he wrote On the Road. Ellen told me he wrote it all 3 weeks on a long roll of teletype paper, no punctuation. Just sat down with Bop on the road radio, blasted out. It was a true life stories. Every word, all about riding the roads across America with his mad friend Dean and Jazz. Drink, girls, drugs, freedom. Didn't know what the Bop or Benzedrine was about. Found out. I bought a bunch of records by Shring and Slim Gallard. On the Road, the first book I'd read or heard of with a built-in soundtrack. After I read On the Road and tried to find other books by Kerouac, it was always the same story I heard. On the dust jacket of my old English copy of Visions of Cody, it says On the Road it was written 1952, a few hectic days of scroll newsprint. Story goes that Kerouac grabbed the scroll and raced over to Robert Giroux, the editor of Hardcore Brace. It was worked on Kerouac, the town, and the city. The novel had published the previous spring. Kerouac rolled the road. Out front of him, but Kerouac not getting it, asked Kerouac how could the printer work from that.